Don't get jumped at the pump. Look out for credit card skimmers at the gas pumps.
Hi, Mike. You have a good, interesting story about hidden spy cams in gas station pumps. Could you explain a little bit about the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So credit card skimming is something that is a well-established method for cyber criminals to monetize their activities, right? And there's a number of ways this can be done depending upon the technical scenario using various hardware and software approaches. What was interesting was last week, the Las Vegas Police Department recovered a device installed at a gas station that was using a small pinhole camera to capture card and PIN pad data as users were at the pump. And what was interesting was that, again, this really isn't the first time you've seen these types of devices either put on an ATM machine or even a gas pump. But what was interesting about this particular scenario was that the pinhole camera in question was a long black bar, about an inch thick and about 28 inches wide long, and was jammed up in the top of the gas station pump frame. So it was looking down at the user as they took their card out of their wallet, put the card in the machine, and then entered the PIN. And this was actually installed and hooked into the gas pump itself so that it could draw power, as well as not only for powering the camera, but for powering a Bluetooth connection that would allow the perpetrators to, pull up into the gas station, within range of the Bluetooth signal and wirelessly download all the stolen data that the camera had obtained.
So in this case, they're using Bluetooth, which means you could kind of just drive up, grab the stuff, and go.
So this is pretty interesting because there's always that running game about who's going to find the next way to capture this information. For instance, most gas station PIN pads are encrypted, so you can't actually intercept the PIN after it's been entered into the encrypted PIN pad. So really getting it via a video feed is a way to get around that encryption control. And the camera itself was set to activate on motion, so when there was nobody at the pump, it would shut down to conserve power and storage space in the device. Now, fortunately, the device was, identified and removed within a couple hours of it being installed, so nothing was, really wasn't any impact there. But particularly as we're going into the holiday season and people are going to be traveling more into strange areas, out there on the highways and byways of America, definitely there's going to need to be a heightened awareness of these types of techniques so that people can stay vigilant and protect themselves as they travel. So to help minimize your risk while you're traveling around, there's a few tips. First of all, always use a credit card at a gas pump. Don't use a debit card. That's going to, prevent any kind of PIN interception regardless of how it's done. The second is when you get to the pump, make sure you're looking to see if any of those security seals have been tampered with, those little yellow or orange stickers that show the pump's been sealed. Make sure that those are intact. If not, find a different pump. Also, look for gas pumps that are newer as opposed to the older pumps, specifically gas pumps that have vertical slots for insertion of payment cards rather than horizontal insertion slots, as well as raised metallic keypads as opposed to the old style smooth plastic number pads. Those newer pumps with the metal keypads are much harder to tamper with. If they get opened inappropriately, the pumps shut down. If the keypads get moved, they disable. So there's a lot of controls built into those that are not there in the legacy pumps. And also, just sort of as a broader thought, cards these days, newer cards, they do not actually have the numbers stamped on the front in embossed raised lettering. There's no number on the front of the cards. the number is flat printed on the back of the cards. So depending upon the style of credit card and debit cards that you have or payment cards that you have, you may want to reach out to your financial institution, see what it would take to get a new card reissued that has some enhanced security features there as well.
Right. Those are interesting. I mean, the first thing, the way you're explaining is it's always good to use credit card instead of debit.
Mm-hmm.
And also probably, and also probably if you have to use a debit card, maybe cover up with other hand while you're entering the PIN pad.
That would protect against a camera watching your PIN.
I mean, in this case, the encryption itself has been defeated by simple means.
Yeah, by very simple means, by very somewhat low-tech means. Another thing that you can do, another tip, although people forget it exists, is cash. You could always just walk in and drop 20, 40 bucks on the table and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Albeit, you do have to walk into the station, which I can understand is you don't want to do it, but that is another option you can take. So.
Yeah, particularly if you want to take advantage of the lower pricing offered for cash or debit card versus credit card transactions at most convenience store gas stations.
Right, and this whole thing could secretly be an electric vehicle ad. So.
Yes. If you had an electric vehicle, that would be an area to avoid gas pumps altogether.
Because I don't think we've seen skimmers at like a charge station, right? I mean, I certainly haven't heard of that happening.
I mean, there were theories, but I think this is the first instance they found out that using a Bluetooth low energy in a module.
Yeah, that is interesting.
That is interesting, but it's a timely reminder to all the folks, basically, because of the holiday season, to be a little bit more vigilant and pay attention.
Yeah. For me, it's the pay attention. I mean, we all know what a gas pump looks like, and I think we're clever enough to figure out, hey, that thing looks kind of plastic. It looks a little strange, and I love the idea of looking at those seals. And it's because if they are tampered with or anything like that, you definitely don't find another pump, and maybe be a good Samaritan and tell someone, hey, I think this pump's been tampered with.
I think this is not easy to see with the naked eye. Basically, the reason is it's a pinhole and it's pointed down to the keypad. Unless someone really notices it's invisible.